और दो तीन जन बुलाओ. Good morning, everybody. In the previous lecture, we have finished the blood ka part, right? Yes, sir. And today we are going to start with the circulatory pathways in the heart. Okay? Good. So now, let us discuss about the circulatory pathways. Some of the things that I have already told you in Kingdom and in India. So, what are we going to discuss? We'll talk about the number of heart chambers, the atria, the ventricles, and the type of the circulatory pathway. Okay? So in the case of Pisces, there are two heart chambers with one atria, one ventricle, and the circulation is called as single circulation. And the type of heart is called as venous heart in fishes. Okay? In amphibia and reptilia, there are three chambers of the heart with two atria and one ventricle. Okay? And both of them show an imperfect double circulation. In the case of crocodiles, eels and mammalia, there are four chambers with two atria, two ventricles, and a perfect double circulation. Okay? Now then, let us discuss the Pisces. In the case of fishes, the heart has two chambers. The receiving chamber, that is the atria, which opens into the ventricles. So there is one atria and one ventricle. And the blood is pumped. The ventricle will pump the blood into the respiratory organ. And this is the gills. The gills will oxygenate the blood, and the blood will flow to the body tissues. The body tissues will use the oxygenated blood and the blood will get deoxygenated, and the deoxygenated blood will go back to the atria. So if you observe over there, you will see that as the ventricle undergo contraction, the blood flows into the respiratory organ and the body tissues in the same circuit at the same time. So that is why it is called as single circulation. There are no two separate pathways, one for respiratory, the other for body tissues. So you don't have two separate pathways, you have only one pathway which supplies the gills and the body tissues. So it is called as single circulation. And the heart receives the oxygenated blood as well as it pumps out deoxygenated blood. So such a heart is called as a venous heart. You already did there. What do you call such a heart? Venous heart. And such a circulation is called as single circulation. So all Pisces, fishes, show which circulation? Single circulation. The heart is how many chambered? Two chambers, atria and ventricles. Then it receives and pumps which type of blood? Does it separately supply to the gills and the body tissues or at the same time? Okay. In the case of amphibia and reptilia, the two atria are separated, but the ventricles is a single chamber. So there is mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. In the case of amphibians and reptilia, the two atria are separated and the ventricles is a single chamber causing a mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Yes? You getting my point, everybody? Now, further. In the case of crocodile, aves and mammals, let us focus on whom bachelor? Mammalia. Focus on who? Mammalia. In the case of mammals, now let us talk about human beings here. We have a muscular pumping organ, and that is the human heart. Now I'll draw a line and I'll divide the heart into two parts. That is the left side and the right side of the heart. Okay? And what you need to remember the rule is the left side always deals with oxygenated blood, and the right side always deals with deoxygenated blood. Left always deals with oxygenated blood, and right always deals with deoxygenated blood. Okay? So you remember the rule. So whenever I say left, you will say oxygenated, and whenever I say right, you will say deoxygenated. Are we clear with this point? Okay. Now let's remove that line. And you got one more. Now I have divided the heart into left and right side or upper and lower parts. Okay, the upper part of the heart is the receiving part of the heart. It's a receiving chamber which is called atria. And the lower part, the lower chamber, is the pumping chamber of the heart which is called as the ventricles. So now that line is dividing it into two chambers, upper and lower. The upper chamber is the and the lower one is the, and these ventricles are receiving or pumping chambers and the atria are the. Okay, now let's bring back our original line. Now how many chambers do you see, guys? Four chambers. Now we will divide them as left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, and right ventricle. Is this clear?
Yes.
So now you can tell me, this is a oxygenated blood receiving. This is this is this is yes. So we look at the first alphabet. L. L is left. Left मतलब R मतलब V मतलब ventricles, pumping chambers, and A मतलब that is receiving chambers. रहेगा? सबको याद रहेगा? So left atrium is the receiving chamber for oxy. Left ventricle is a pumping chamber for oxy. RV is a pumping chamber for deoxy, and RA is a receiving chamber for deoxy. Clear, everyone? Okay. Then the left atrium, where does it receive the oxygenated blood from? It receives it from the lungs. Okay? So lungs will oxygenate the blood, and the oxygenated blood will go into the left atrium. It will go into the left atrium. Who will carry it? It will be carried by the four pulmonary मतलब lungs. Four veins from the lungs. We are calling them as the four pulmonary veins. Okay? So the four pulmonary veins carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. The vein is defined as a blood vessel that carries the blood towards the heart. Most of the veins in your body carry deoxygenated blood. With an exception here right now is pulmonary veins, which carries oxygenated blood, unlike the other veins in your body, which carry. करेगा ये बात लिखने का जरूरत नहीं है ना? Will you write it on your own? That this is an exception. Okay? Then the oxygenated blood will flow into whom? Left ventricles, which are a pumping chamber for oxygenated blood. Yes. So the ventricles will undergo contraction and the oxygenated blood will flow into your body tissues. Okay? And this is the major or the mother of all your arteries, which is called as the systemic aorta, which carries the blood from the left ventricle to all the organs of your body. Then the body will use the blood will become deoxygenated, and the deoxygenated blood will flow where, Uchalo? Right. Into the right atrium. Okay? So the right atrium receives which type of blood? Deoxygenated blood. And this deoxygenated blood flows into the right atrium via two important blood vessels, which are called as superior vena cava or the pre-caval vein. Okay? And the another blood vessel is the inferior vena cava or the which post caval vein. Okay, so you have got these two blood vessels which are carrying which blood? Deoxygenated blood into the right atrium, and then the deoxygenated blood has to flow where, into the right ventricle, and then the right ventricle will pump it to the lungs. And who will carry it? By the two pulmonary arteries. That is the right pulmonary artery and the left pulmonary artery. Okay? So all the arteries carry which blood? Oxygenated blood. And the definition of the artery is it carries the blood towards the heart or away from the heart? Away from the heart. And why are these two arteries the exceptions for this? Because they carry which type of blood? Deoxygenated blood. Clear everybody? Yes. So ये वाली जो arteries है, pulmonary artery. Pulmonary का मतलब क्या हो गया? Going towards the lungs. Okay? Pulmonary का मतलब for the lungs. Arteries carrying blood away from the heart. Which blood were you expecting it to carry? Oxygenated, because it's an artery. That is what we know from school, right? But this is an exception. It is carrying deoxygenated blood. So can I say now the heart is pumping the blood in two circuits, two pathways, separately for the respiratory organ lungs and separately for the body. Unlike the case of fishes, our heart is involved in two circulations. One is called pulmonary circulation, where the blood flows from the RV to the lungs and from the lungs to the LA. Where the blood is flowing from the RV to the lungs and from the lungs to the LA. This is heart pumping and receiving blood from and to the lungs, which is called as pulmonary circuit, या फिर it is called as the pulmonary circulation. क्या कहेंगे इसको हम लोग चलो? Pulmonary circulation. Clear everyone? At the same time, I find that the heart is pumping blood to the body tissues and receiving it back from the body, and this circuit is called as the systemic circulation. So, what are the two circulations involved in? Pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Together, it is called as double circulation. What do you call it? Double circulation. I hope you got my point. If yes or no? Yes. Okay. Together it is called as which circulation? Double circulation. You understood why it is called double circulation? Yes. Pakka. Clear or no? Okay. So human beings show perfect double circulation. And in order to create that force necessary for the blood to move, you need a pumping organ. And in us, it is the heart. We say that the human heart is a hollow, muscular, pumping organ. So basically, your heart is a muscle. What my point? That is why when you walk, when you slightly run, you are exercising your heart first. When you go to the gym and you lift weights, you are causing hypertrophy of your biceps and triceps, for example. But when you are walking and you are running, you're strengthening your heart muscles. That is why they are called cardiovascular exercises. But when you overdo it, it can damage your heart muscles. That is what we see nowadays. Yes or no? People who overdo their heart muscles, they will damage the heart muscle. Because it is also a muscle like any other muscle in your body. So that has to be very clear. Your heart is a muscular tissue. It is a hollow, muscular, pumping organ. How do I describe it? It's a hollow, it is muscular, and it's a pumping organ. As it is a muscle, definitely it is going to be what, Chilo? Mesodermal in its origin. Roughly around 300 grams in weight, with slightly larger in an average adult male than an adult female. Slightly larger in an adult male than an adult female. ठीक है? तो बड़े दिल वाला कौन है? Male. Whose brain is larger? We'll talk about that in neural system. Okay? So, where is it located exactly? So let me divide your body into two big cavities. Thoracic and abdominal by a muscular diaphragm. Okay? So I got the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity divided by the muscular diaphragm. And the thoracic cavity shows the presence of the left lung and the right lung. Okay? And the left lung has a notch which is called the cardiac notch. Okay? हल्का सा ऐसा खड्डा बोलो, डिप्रेशन बोलो, जैसे हमारे गांव की घरों की दीवार में वो एक नॉच होती है, यहाँ पे दिया वगैरह रखते हैं आप लोग, हाँ, ड्यूटी, हाँ, जो भी है, ठीक है, आप समझ गए मेरी बात, नया नया वर्ड मत सिखाओ, ठीक है? So here you have the left lung and the right lung, and the left lung shows the presence of a cardiac notch, and in between the two lungs, the space I have told you some time before, it is called as the mediastinum. Are you there with me up now? Yes. Okay. Your heart is roughly conical in shape. How is it? Roughly conical in shape. Okay? And the upper part of the heart is roughly triangular. The upper part of the heart is the atria, and the apex of the heart is the ventricles. See, just a diagrammatic representation, not a scientific one. Okay? So you have the left atrium and the right atrium, and we have the left ventricle and the right ventricle. So I just made it in this manner to make you understand that all the chambers of the heart are not equal in size. Okay, and I want you to draw your special attention to the fact that the apex of the heart, which part of the apex of the heart, is majorly made of whom left ventricle. Okay, so the apex of the heart is mainly made up of whom? Left ventricle. Okay, and the human heart is located in the exact center of the thoracic cage, behind the breastbone, that is the sternum, in a space that is mediastinum, and the apex of the heart is slightly tilted towards the left side. Okay, so your heart is in the center of the thoracic cavity and is tilted towards the left. Got it? It is tilted towards the left. Okay, and it is resting on a tissue, that is the diaphragm. As the apex of the heart is made of the left ventricle, and the left ventricle is the strongest chamber of the heart. That is why when it undergoes contractions and relaxations, you feel the heartbeat on the left side of the body. So why do you feel the heartbeat on the left side of the body? Because the apex is slightly tilted towards the left, and it is primarily made up of what? Left ventricle. I hope you all followed. That is why people have a mistaken idea that the human heart is located on the left side of the body. What is human heart located on the left side of the body? No. It is behind the sternum in a space called mediastinum, and the apex is slightly tilted towards the left in the cardiac notch of the left lung, resting on a tissue which is called as diaphragm. So the human heart is located in the dash cavity, thoracic cavity, in a space which is called as mediastinum, and the apex is tilted towards the left side in the cardiac notch of the left lung upon a tissue which is called diaphragm. Yes or no? And as you all know that if you look at the vital organs of your body, like your brain and your heart, you will find that these organs have three levels of protection. Outermost bony, then you will have membranes protecting these organs, and you have some fluid which will also protect these organs. Okay? So heart is no different. It is protected by bones and the membranes and some fluid. The bony protection for the human heart is the thoracic cage. The membranous protection is called as pericardium, and the fluid is called the pericardial fluid. Okay, so what are the three levels of protection? Thoracic cage, where we have ventral sternum, lateral ribs, and dorsally the vertebral column. Is it? No, we're going to describe it now. Okay? Shall we continue, Bachalo? Yes. Okay. So, see here everyone. So, this is the heart. Can you see this? Yes. Okay? And it is covered by a thick, fibrous connective tissue, guys, which is like a sac, like a protective thing, like a box, which is what your mobile phone, like a protective thing, the pericardial sac. Okay, and the outermost pericardium, which is tough, is called as the fibrous pericardium. What do you call the pericardium? Fibrous pericardium. followed by two more layers. One layer near or beneath the fibrous pericardium. Okay? Which is called the outer parietal layer, and the covering immediately on the heart itself is the inner visceral layer. ठीक है? So you got an outer parietal layer and an inner visceral layer. Together, it is called the serous pericardium. What do you call it? Serous pericardium. So I divided the pericardium into two main layers, fibrous and serous, and the fibrous is divided into outer parietal and the inner visceral layers. Got it, everybody? And between the parietal and the visceral, we see the presence of a space that is called as the pericardial space, that is filled with the pericardial fluid, which is a shock absorber and will prevent the friction when the heart undergoes contractions and relaxations. Okay? In certain fevers and certain infections, the pericardial fluid can increase. That is called pericarditis. Pericarditis. The fluid that is the pericardial fluid. I have got it down. Further, let us take out that heart. Okay? And discuss about the walls of the heart. We are talking about the walls of the human heart. Okay? So, we have the outermost covering, which is called as the outer parietal layer or the epicardium of the heart. Okay? So one thing to note is that the inner visceral layer, I'm sorry, I wrote outer parietal layer? Okay. I am discussing the inner visceral layer. Now, the inner visceral layer, which is the innermost layer of the pericardium, is also the outermost layer of the heart wall. So pericardium and the heart itself, they share that part. That is the inner visceral layer of the pericardium is also called as the epicardium of the heart. So it is epi, outermost cardia layer of the heart, inner visceral layer of the pericardium. Say. Okay? And the middle and thickest layer of the heart, which forms the majority of the heart wall, is the myocardium, which is made up of the tissue that we have discussed before this. That is your cardiac tissue. Okay? So after the epithelia of the inner visceral layer, there is a cardiac tissue in the myocardium. Once again, followed by the epithelial tissue that will be called the endocardium. So what are the three layers from outside to inside? Epicardium, myocardium, endocardium. And the middle space is called as the lumen which is filled with blood. So when the myocardium will contract, the blood will be pushed out. As the myocardium will relax, it will get filled. The lumen will get filled. One interesting thing to note is that the myocardium requires a continuous supply of oxygenated blood, ATP and glucose. And even though the lumen is filled with blood, the myocardium does not use the blood directly from the lumen. I have told you this in animal tissues. The example of the human heart is like a bank cashier. He counts thousands of rupees in a day, but he cannot take that cash home. He can only take home his salary. Similarly, the myocardium is pumping liters and liters of blood in the day, but for itself, it will get oxygenated blood via the capillaries called coronary circulation, or these are the coronary blood vessels or the coronary arteries. Okay, so this word, that is coronary, is a separate circulation for the heart itself. Okay, so does the myocardium use the blood directly from the lumen? No, it uses the blood that is provided to it by the coronary blood vessels. That is why I told you the blockage in the coronary artery is fatal, deadly for the myocardium. It can cause a heart attack. If there is fat deposition in the coronary artery, oxygenated blood to the muscle will decrease. समझा ना मेरा बात आप सबको? So what are the points we have discussed? Circulatory pathways, types of circulation, location, protection, and the wall of the heart. Okay, let's copy these down fast. Any questions before we proceed? Let's learn the labelings first. Okay, because after that I want to erase the labelings and I have to write them on your own. What are the four chambers we have mentioned? Left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium, right ventricle. Let's name them first. This is the left atrium. This will be the left ventricle. This here will be the right atrium. Then the right ventricle. Okay. Then the left atrium receives which type of blood? Oxygenated blood from the lungs through the pulmonary veins. Okay. So in the left atrium, do you see four openings that we have drawn there?
Yes.
Okay. So let us label them as the four openings of the which veins, which you know?
Pulmonary veins.
The pulmonary veins. Okay. And for these are the two. Here the other, which will open here from the back side. Okay. Two of them will open these two openings, the other two will open this two openings. Four, na? Left runs your right runs. You should not follow what I said. Follow the. Then the other labelings are this valve over here is called as the bicuspid valve. This one. Remember that. क्या बोलेंगे उसको? Bicuspid valve. Then this is the chordae tendineae. Pronounce the word. Chordae tendineae. क्या बोलते उसको? Chordae tendineae. This is the papillary muscle. Okay, and this elevation is called the columnae carne. This here is the dorsal aorta. Okay, septum over here is the interventricular septum. Okay, then these valves here, we call them as the semilunar valves. Okay, then the tricuspid valve, which is 3. This is the opening of the inferior vena cava. Then this is the opening of the coronary sinus. The opening of the superior vena cava. Okay. Then the red blood vessel is the systemic aorta. The blue blood vessel is the pulmonary aorta, and this is the left pulmonary artery. This one we have is the right pulmonary artery. Okay. So this is the pulmonary aorta dividing into the 2 pulmonary arteries. These 3 branches will supply your brain. The brachiocephalic artery, and the common carotid, and the left subclavian. Extra nerves. Okay. So on the surface of the heart, we'll do external and internal together. So when you're looking at the human heart, on the surface of the heart, you will see the presence of many sulci. Sulci means depressions. Okay? Like if you look at a walnut, अखरोट की तरफ हम लोग देखते हैं, तो कुछ एरिया से ऊपर होती है, कुछ से नीचे रहता है, ऊपर नीचे रहता है अखरोट का surface. So on the surface of the heart, we see the presence of sulci. Okay? There are many sulci on the surface of the heart. Some prominent cells, the main cells, that helps us to create the boundaries between the parts of the heart. कुछ ऐसे सर्कल्स जिसकी वजह से हार्ट के 2 पार्ट एक दूसरे से डिफर कर सकते हैं, उसमें से ये वाली सर्कल्स जो ऑब्लिक है, ट्रांसवर्स, because of which you can separate the atria from the ventricles, and this is called as the atrioventricular sulcus. Okay, so atrioventricular sulcus, it separates the atria from the ventricles. Then you'll see another sulcus which will separate the left ventricle from the right ventricle, and this is called as the interventricular sulcus. इसमें 2 है, आगे पीछे, एंटीरियर पोस्टीरियर. ठीक है, 2 मेन सल्का है, समझ में आया आपको? एक एट्रियोवेंट्रिकल्स के बीच में डिवाइड कर देता है, एट्रियोवेंट्रिकुलर, और दूसरा कौन सा पूछ लो? इंटरवेंट्रिकुलर sulcus. And these sulci and many more show the presence of blood vessels on them. Okay, which are called the coronary arteries. So what passes through the sulci? Coronary arteries of the heart. Okay? Then, in the internal structure, we'll first talk about atria. Atria are the receiving chambers or the pumping chambers? Receiving chambers. Okay. And we divide the atria into two, the left atrium and the right atrium. Left atrium is a receiving chamber for oxygenated blood. Right atrium is a receiving chamber for deoxygenated blood. So the atria are the receiving chambers. So you have got the left atrium and the right atrium. Okay? Left and the right. Now, if you compare the size, then the right atrium is slightly larger than the left atrium. The right atrium is slightly larger than the left atrium. As the right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the entire body, we find that it has a greater volume as compared to the left atrium. Between the two atria, there is a wall, there is a septum, okay, that separates the two atria. That is called as the interatrial septum. Inter means between. Atria, two atria के बीच में एक wall है, that is called the interatrial septum. On the interatrial septum, there is an oval-shaped depression. Okay, this is called the fossa ovalis. Okay, so on the interatrial septum, there is an oval-shaped depression which is called as the fossa ovalis. Now, fossa ovalis has a backstory. जैसे आपकी movies में ना backstory. तो वैसा fossa ovalis की backstory. And for that, we have to look at the fetal heart. Okay, the heart of a fetus when we were in the womb of our mother at that time. So what we observe is you have the left and the right atrium. Between the two atria there is a septum. That is the interatrial septum. But now in the fetal heart, the interatrial septum has an opening. You see the opening in the interatrial septum? This opening is called as the foramen ovale. Okay? So when we were in the stage of a fetus, there was a hole in the interatrial septum called as the foramen ovale. Okay? And the deoxygenated blood from the right atrium used to be shunted, transported into the left atrium via the foramen ovale. Okay? As you remember, the right atrium will give the blood to the right ventricle. The right ventricle will give the blood to the lungs for oxygenation. But that is when we are adults, when we are born. But during our fetal stages, when we are in the womb of our mother, we don't breathe for 9 months. There is no breathing. We are surrounded by a amniotic fluid. लिक्विड रहता है अपने आजू बाजू. तो वो टाइम पे प्लेसेंटा करके जो है वो अपने को ऑक्सीजनेशन करके देता है. ठीक है. So for 9 months, should the deoxygenated blood go towards the lungs? Yes or no? No. So we have to transfer it towards some other place. So now the right atrium will shunt the blood towards the left atrium via the foramen ovale. As soon as we are born, जैसे हम लोग पैदा होते हैं, लंग्स का इन्फ्लेशन हो जाता है, लंग्स काम करना स्टार्ट करते हैं. अब ये फोरामेन ओवल की जरूरत नहीं है, वो बंद हो जाता है. लेकिन चूंकि ह्यूमन हार्ट की रीजनरेटिव कैपेसिटी बहुत ही कम है, वो पूरा वॉल प्रॉपर्ली रीजनरेट नहीं हो रहा है. वहां पे क्या दे रहा है? डिप्रेशन दे रहा है, जिसको हम लोग बोलते हैं फोसा ओवैलिस. इसलिए फोसा ओवैलिस की एक बैक स्टोरी है कि इट इज अ रिमेनेंट, रह गया हुआ पार्ट of the fetal heart, which is the foramen ovale. So fossa ovalis is a रह गया हुआ part of the foramen ovale. कुछ बेबीज में ये फोरामेन ओवल क्लोज नहीं होता बराबर से, तो हम बोलते हैं इसके हृदय में, हार्ट में छेद है, देयर इज ओपनिंग इन द हार्ट. मेडिकली इट इज कॉल्ड एज द पेटेंट फोरामेन ओवल. फोरामेन ओवल जो क्या हो गया, रह गया है. सो टेक्निकली स्पीकिंग जब हम कहते हैं कि एक पर्सन के होल में हार्ट है, तो अगर हम जरा सोचे तो हम सबके whole heart. The hole is in the heart. Heart has a hole. So when we technically see that the heart has a hole, we all had a hole in our heart. But the difference is, in our case it is closed. In their case it remained open. That is called, the condition is called what? Patent foramen ovale. Got the description, everybody? Okay. Then when it comes to the left atrium, the left atrium has got how many openings? The left atrium has how many openings? 4 openings. We already discussed them. And these 4 openings are of pulmonary veins, which carry which blood? Oxygenated blood from the dash to the dash. Hello guys? Then, when we talk about the right atrium has how many openings? 2 or 3? 3 dimensions. What are the 3 openings? Opening of the superior vena cava, coronary sinus, and opening of the inferior vena cava. So here we have got these 3 openings. Opening of the superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, coronary sinus. Parallel. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, coronary sinus. Superior vena cava, precaval vein. Inferior vena cava, postcaval vein. The superior vena cava brings deoxygenated blood from the upper parts of the body. Inferior vena cava will bring deoxygenated blood from the lower parts of the body. And the coronary sinus will bring deoxygenated blood from the heart itself. As I have already told you, the myocardium requires an oxygenated blood supply. The myocardium will use the blood will become deoxygenated. Now that deoxygenated blood will go back into the heart via the coronary sinus. Okay? तो कितनी ओपनिंग्स हो गई? 3. कहाँ पे? In the right atrium. So, yes, last benches. Yes, Alicia, what is the first opening we mentioned?
Superior vena.
Opening of the superior vena cava or the precaval vein. Okay? ये कहाँ से ब्लड लेके आता है? कौन सा टाइप का ब्लड लेके आता है? Deoxygenated. कहाँ से? Lung से? Upper parts of the body. From the upper parts of the body. Yes, the middle one. What is another opening? It is the opening of the inferior vena cava और whom बचलो? Postcaval vein. ये कहाँ से ब्लड लेके आता है? From the lower parts of the body. And then we have an opening called as the coronary sinus, which brings what blood बचलो? Deoxygenated blood from the heart itself. Yes? Okay, everybody? So कितनी openings हो गई? 3. कौन सी? Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava, coronary sinus. ठीक है? क्या सबको समझ में आया यहाँ तक? Are we clear with the atria, bachlo? Okay. So can we discuss the ventricles, everyone? Okay. Now, so how many ventricles do we have? 2. Left ventricle and the 2 ventricles are separated from each other by the Ventricular septum. So what separates the two? Interventricular septum. That is the interventricular septum. One thing to note over here is the left ventricle has the thickest wall and a narrow lumen space. Whereas the right ventricle has got thin wall comparatively to the left with a broader lumen. Because the left ventricle has to pump the blood with a strong ejection to the entire body as compared to the right which has to give it only to the lungs. Clear my point here? So what I said is that the wall of the left ventricle is thick whereas the lumen is narrow. The wall of the right ventricle is thin whereas the lumen is much broader. सही है? Shall I continue? Pakka? Look at the wall of the ventricles from inside. Look here. Is it smooth or is it showing elevations and depressions? So if you look at the wall, it shows elevations and depressions. The depressions are called fissures. क्या कहते हैं इसको? Fissures. They're increasing the surface area of it. And this thick elevations here, I've marked them like this, are called columnae carneae. What are they called? Columnae carneae. So what are the columnae carneae? They are the elevations of the muscular walls, MW, that is the muscular walls. Okay? Now pay attention to this point. So there are many columnar carneae, but some of the columnar carneae are taller than the others. Like in these 5 fingers, these are all columnar carneae, but the middle finger is the tallest, and I'll call it as papillary muscle. क्या कहेंगे उसको लोग? Papillary muscles. So, who are all these? Columnae carneae. But some of the columnae carneae are taller than the others, and the tall columnae carneae are called as what? Papillary muscles. Iran, क्या है papillary muscle? क्या tall? Who are these? Who are these? Many columnae carneae. And the tallest one, क्या कहेंगे हम लोग उसको? PM. That is the tall columnae carneae. Okay. Now, if you look at the papillary muscles, it is connected to a collagenous, made up of collagen, inelastic cord. Inelastic cord, not elastic. It is inelastic cord, which is called chordae tendineae. क्या कहते हैं इसको? So the papillary muscles are connected to what are they called? Chordae tendineae. What are the chordae tendineae? Inelastic cartilaginous cords. Sorry, collagenous cords. Okay? How are they? Inelastic and collagenous cords, which are called as chordae tendineae. So here the chordae tendineae, on one side, it is connected to the papillary muscle, and on the other side, it is connected to the flap of the valves. Okay? So chordae tendineae एक एंड पे किससे कनेक्टेड है? पैपिलरी मसल्स से, और दूसरे एंड पे किससे कनेक्टेड है? वो फ्लैप्स के साथ। समझ में आया मेरा बात सबको? Are we clear up to here, everyone? Okay. Then let us look at the major blood vessels that are arising from the heart. Okay. So here we find that this is the left ventricle, LV likha हुआ है. And from the left ventricle arises the mother of all the arteries. Okay, all the arteries arise from this blood vessel. And what is that blood vessel called? Systemic aorta. Which has got three main regions called ascending part of the aorta, but it is going up. Then the part which arches is called the arch of the aorta, and the one which comes down is the descending part or the dorsal aorta. So from the LV, who is LV? Left ventricle, arises the systemic aorta, which carries oxygenated blood to the entire body. It has got an ascending part, arch, and a dorsal aorta. Okay, and from the ascending part arises the blood vessel, which is called coronary. What about you? Artery. And this coronary artery will give blood to the entire heart. So I have told you, blockage in the coronary artery is fatal for the heart muscle. It can cause the death of the heart tissue. तो ये coronary artery कौन सा blood carry करती है? Oxygen. और वो arise कहाँ से होती है? From the systemic aorta. I hope you got it, everyone. Yes or no? So the left ventricle gives rise to the systemic aorta with the ascending part, arch, and the dorsal aorta. At the start of the ascending part, you get the coronary arteries which supply blood to the entire body. And from the arch arise blood vessels that go towards your brain region, upper region. Yes.
So वो आपने कहा वो column ने increase
The fissures increase the volume where blood can remain over there. The blood will remain there. It will increase the carrying capacity of your heart. Okay, so these are the columnar arteries, these are the fissures. So I get some blood there also. Right? Now, then other than that, the other major blood vessel is going to arise from your right ventricle. Right ventricle is the receiving chamber or pumping chamber? For which type of blood? And it will pump the blood into the blood vessel called pulmonary aorta. किसमें जाएगा वो? Pulmonary aorta. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, pulmonary aorta कितने branches में divide होगा? दो. Which are called as the left pulmonary artery and the right pulmonary artery, which will carry which blood? Deoxygenated blood. To which part? Lungs. For what? Oxygenation. I hope you understood my point up to here. Okay. Clear है ना यहाँ तक कुछ लोग? Okay. Now we'll continue with the vessels. Vessels होगी. We'll continue with the valves. इसकी बात करेंगे हम लोग valves के बारे में. Okay, I write over here. About whom? The valves. Okay. Are all columnar cardiac papillary muscles? No. 2 in the left and 3 in the right. Okay. The first type of valves. What are we talking about? Valves. They are atrioventricular valves. क्या नाम है valves का? atrioventricular valves. मतलब valves का काम क्या होता है? they allow the blood to flow only in one direction. Plumbing में भी valves उसके लिए use होते हैं. So here the valves are between the atria and the ventricles. इसके बीच में atria और ventricles के बीच में. तो उसको कौन सा valve बोलेंगे? Atrioventricular valves. Okay. Who is this atrium? Left. Who is this ventricle? So between the left and the left, there is a valve with two flaps, which is called as bicuspid valve. It looks like a cap worn by the bishop in the church. That cap is called mitre, M-I-T-R-E, mitre. So valve को क्या बोलते हैं? Mitral valve भी बोलते हैं. Okay? Bicuspid valve का दूसरा नाम है mitral valve. क्योंकि वो एक टोपी जैसा दिखता है जो चर्च में एक बिशप पहनते हैं उसके जैसा. ओके, तो पहला टाइप का एट्रियोवेंट्रिकुलर वाल्व कौन सा बच्चों? अभी मैंने बताया बाइकस्पिड, या फिर उसका दूसरा नाम क्या होगा? मिट्रल वाल्व. इसके पास कितने फ्लैप्स है गाइस? दो. और इसका लोकेशन कहां पे? बिटवीन द लेफ्ट एट्रियम एंड द लेफ्ट वेंट्रिकल. और इसका जॉब क्या है? It will prevent the blood from going from the ventricles into the atria. It will allow it to come from the atria into the ventricles. The second atrioventricular valve is on the right side, and that is called as which valve? It is called as a tricuspid valve with how many cusps? Flaps 3 between the right atrium and the right ventricle. Okay. So ये दो टाइप्स के जो वाल्व्स है, ये ब्लड को कहां से कहां फ्लो होने देंगे? ऊपर से नीचे. But when the ventricles are undergoing contraction, who is contracting? Ventricles. The pressure will be from below. So now the bicuspid and tricuspid will open, or will they close? Close. But as the ventricles are undergoing contraction strongly, there is a possibility that they can open backwards. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए ना? So the chordate antennae are inelastic. They will pull the flaps and prevent them from opening backwards. What is the function of the chordate antennae? What will the chordate antennae do? They will hold the flaps and prevent them from opening backwards. जैसे बारिश में जब जोर से हवा आती है, छाता उल्टा खुलता है, तो चलो छाते को साइड से बांध देते, तो क्या होगा? नहीं खुलेगा. पैराशूट बनेगा लेकिन खुलेगा नहीं ना पीछे. With age, if your chordate antennae become weak, what will happen? The flap will open backwards and the blood will go into the atria when the ventricles are contracting. Valvular regurgitation, उल्टा जा रहा है. ओके, सो आपने सुना होगा कभी वाल्व रिप्लेसमेंट सर्जरी करते हैं, तो जब ये वाल्व जैसा वीक हो जाते हैं तो ब्लड शुड नॉट गो बैक, सो दे रिप्लेस द वाल्व्स. आई होप यू गॉट इट. Did you get the function of the chordate antennae? An important function. They hold the flaps, prevent them from opening backwards. Shall I continue? Then we have the aortic valves. What do you call the valves, which look? Aortic valves. Okay. Who are these aortic valves? They are at the base of the pulmonary aorta and the base of the systemic aorta, and they are like half moon shape. Moon is called lunar. They are half moon shaped. That is why they are called semi-lunar valves. They allow the blood to go from the ventricles into the aorta, and they prevent it from flowing back. Okay. So aortic valves are also called as semi-lunar valves. So we have one which is called systemic aorta semi-lunar valve, and the other one will be called as the pulmonary aorta semi-lunar valve. कितने हो गए semi-lunar valve? दो।
से एक बार बताओ।
कौन सा?
सेमी-लूनर वाला।
सेमी लूनार वाल्व। सेमी का मतलब क्या होता है? हाफ। लूनार का मतलब होता है मून। So they are half moon shaped cusp flaps. Okay, where are they located? At the base, at the शुरुआत of the pulmonary aorta and the systemic aorta. क्या काम है इनका? ये जब खुलेंगे तो ब्लड अपने अपने एओर्टा में जाएगा। जब ये बंद हो जाएंगे तो ब्लड ऊपर से नीचे बैक फ्लो नहीं होगा। ओके, इनका जो कस्प है, आपकी टोपी जो बनता है ना, टोपी, उसको अगर उल्टा कर देंगे तो ऐसा कैसा था कस्प, ऐसे तीन कस्प रहते हैं इनके पास। आया बात समझ में? तो यू हैव गॉट सिस्टमिक एओर्टा सेमिलुनार एंड पल्मोनरी एओर्टा सेमिलुनार। Where are they located? At the base of the systemic aorta and at the base of the pulmonary aorta. Okay, how many cusps do they have? 3 half moon shaped cusp. Cusp मतलब वो flaps वाला। You got my point, everybody? Okay. What is their job? Allow the blood to go up, but don't allow it to come down. Other than that, some extra valves, while solving MCQs, you may read in the options. They are eustachian valve and the Thebsian valve. No need to learn their names as of now. Okay, क्या नाम है उसका? Eustachian valve and the Thebsian valve, which is present eustachian on the inferior vena cava and Thebsian on the coronary sinus. Okay, but mainly as of now today you are supposed to remember the atrioventricular valves, जिसके दो टाइप्स है, bicuspid, tricuspid. Aortic valve जिसके दो टाइप्स है, systemic aorta and pulmonary aorta, semi-lunar valves. Okay, तो एक बार फिर क्या आप देखते हैं? The human heart is a hollow muscular pumping organ. It is four chambered with two receiving atria and two pumping ventricles. The right atrium is slightly larger than the left atrium. The two atria are separated by interatrial septum. The interatrial septum shows the presence of a oval shaped depression which is called fossa ovalis, which is the रह गया हुआ part of the embryonic foramen ovum. बता था ना मुझे ऐसा? The left atrium shows the presence of four openings of the pulmonary veins which carry oxygenated blood from the heart to the left atrium. There are exceptions to the veins. The right atrium shows the presence of three openings: superior vena cava, inferior vena cava opening, and the coronary sinus. Precaval, postcaval, and the coronary sinus. Precaval brings deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body. नहीं, and inferior brings from the lower part of the coronary sinus from the heart itself. The two ventricles are separated from each other by an interventricular septum. Left ventricle has got thick wall, narrow lumen. Right ventricle has got thin wall and a broader lumen. Correct? The two ventricles are separated by interventricular septum. The wall of the ventricle shows the presence of elevations and depressions called columnae carneae and fissures. Some of the columnae carneae are very tall. They are called papillary muscles, 2 in the left and 3 in the right. They are connected to non-elastic collagenous cords called the chordae tendinae, which are also connected to the flaps of the bicuspid and the tricuspid, so that the ventricle undergo contraction. The flaps will close, but will not open backwards because the chordae tendinae will hold them. Correct, bachcho? The left ventricle gives rise to the systemic aorta, which has a ascending part, arch, and the dorsal aorta. From the ascending arises the coronary artery supplying oxygenated blood to the heart itself. From the arch arises blood vessels going to the upper parts of the body. Right? From the right ventricle arises the pulmonary aorta branching to form the right and the left pulmonary artery carrying deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation. There are exception to the arteries. All arteries carry oxy, but these two carry deoxy. Correct? The function of the valves in the human heart is they allow the blood to flow in a particular direction. So you have valves between the atria and the ventricles called atrioventricular valves. The left side has got bicuspid, the right side has got tricuspid. The bicuspid is also called as the mitral valve because it looks like the mitre, that is a cap worn by the bishop in the church. It has got two flaps, the other one has got three flaps, function remains the same. They prevent the blood from going from the ventricles back into the atria. With old age that can happen, which is called as valvular regurgitation. Now the score regurgitation मतलब उल्टी आना, ठीक है? तो उल्टा जा रहा है ब्लड, इसलिए वो वर्ड यूज करें, ठीक है? कौन प्रिवेंट करेगा वो फ्लैप्स को पीछे खुलने से? कॉर्डेट एंटीथेन। ओके, सेकंड टाइप के वाल्व्स कौन से देखे हम लोग ने? एओर्टिक वाल्व, या इसको हम लोग ने बोला सेमी लूनर वाल्व। सेमी का मतलब होता है हाफ, लूनर है मून। तो ये कितने कस्प है? 3, आपकी उल्टी टोपी के जैसे। कहां पे प्रेजेंट है? शुरुआत में। किसके? सिस्टमिक एओर्टा है, पल्मोनरी एओर्टा। काम क्या इनका? अलाउ द ब्लड टू गो इनटू द एओर्टा, प्रिवेंट देम फ्रॉम कमिंग डाउन। Other than that, you have got eustachian valve and Pepsian valve on the inferior vena cava and the coronary sides. Okay? Are we clear, everyone? Yes or no?